GoForThe2.com. This is our Week 9 preview of a marquee matchup in Norman, Oklahoma. It's the 5th-ranked Notre Dame Fighting Irish traveling to Norman to take on the 8th-ranked Oklahoma Sooners. It's a great matchup. It has BCS implications, and when are doubters going to start buying into Notre Dame? There's a ton of doubters that think Notre Dame has no chance in this ballgame. We'll break it down for you. We'll give you our prediction a little bit later in the week. It's an 8 o'clock start. It's on ABC, and it's a must-watch game if you're a college football fan. It doesn't get better than this. The tradition, the pageantry, number 5, Notre Dame, number 8, Oklahoma. This is as good as it gets. It's a clash in styles, ball control type of offense with Notre Dame, up-tempo attack, good quarterback in Landry Jones. It's must-watch TV if you're a college football fan. We're going to break it down for you right now. Let's talk about Notre Dame. What can you say? They're 7-0. They gutted out another victory after falling behind to BYU last week. They pulled out a 17-14 victory at home against BYU. It's a key note, though, that Notre Dame fell behind for the second game in a row. Prior to that, in their first 5 games, they didn't trail on any opponent in the season. They trailed against Stanford 2 weeks ago and had to pull out an overtime victory. They trailed at halftime last week against BYU, but they gutted out a 17-14 victory at home, and that's an impressive win against a very good defense in BYU. Notre Dame held BYU to only 243 yards total, 66 yards rushing. They contained quarterback Riley Nelson and the Cougar offense, and that's a key effort coming up against a very good offense in Oklahoma this week. Can they maintain that defensive effort on the road to Norman will be a question mark in this ballgame. Tommy Rees, he got the start last week, filling in for Everett Golson. Everett Golson was hurt against Stanford with a concussion. He was cleared to play, but he didn't see any action. Tommy Rees went the whole distance. He completed 7 of 16, 177 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, but the 7 of 16 was only 43.8%. He looked more comfortable coming out of the bullpen when the game is on the line than starting, so that's a key question heading into this ball game. Brian Kelly still hasn't named his starter, although he's behind Golson. So up until this point, we don't know who will get the start in Oklahoma. But going forward, they're going to need a better quarterback play from either both Rees and Golson against the Oklahoma Sooners. Notre Dame loves to run the football. They're averaging almost 194 yards per rush. They're at 193.9 per game. That's 39th in the country. They have 3 great backs, Theo Riddick, George Atkinson III, and Sierra Wood, and they're going to look to pound Oklahoma with their heavy offensive line. They want a ball control attack and then work off play action in the ball game. Whether they can get the running game going against Oklahoma, we'll have to see, and I'm sure that Brian Kelly will love to run the football against the Sooners. The Sooners running defense, they're at home. They're giving up 156 yards rushing, so that's a matchup for Brian Kelly. He's going to want to get the running game going, work off play action with Golson and Rees, and utilize the play-action passing game in terms of getting big plays. Can they do that? We'll see. I think, though, an X factor in this game is tight end Tyler Eifert, and the reason is Oklahoma plays in the Big 12. A majority of those offenses run the spread offense and do not utilize a tight end. They haven't seen a tight end in terms of size and speed as of Tyler Eifert, and he can create mismatches within the linebacker and secondary for Oklahoma. How Brian Kelly utilizes him this week will be a key component whether they can get big plays in the passing game, but I think that Tyler Eifert will play a major role for the Notre Dame offense in creating mismatches, so that's a key factor that you have to keep an eye out for Notre Dame offensively. Defensively for Notre Dame, they play a very disciplined defense. They're only giving up 9.3 points per game. That's second only to Alabama. They do have a weakness, in my opinion. It's in the secondary. Lack of speed. 3 weeks ago against Miami, Miami's wide receiver Philip Dorsett, early in that ball game, they allowed him to get behind the secondary. They cannot allow wideouts Justin Brown and Kenny Stills for Oklahoma to burn them in the passing game. Notre Dame will have to play man coverage. I don't think that they can utilize man-to-man coverage early in this game. I think they're going to want to methodically force Oklahoma to working down the field. If you watch the game against Kansas State, the 24-19 loss in Norman, Kansas State forced Oklahoma and Landry Jones not only into turnovers, but to methodically working down the field, and they did not give up touchdowns. They held that Oklahoma offense to field goals. That's what Notre Dame has to do. They're a +9, Notre Dame is, in turnover margin. They're very opportunistic with their turnovers, and they're going to need to create turnovers on the road. Mane Te'o is very good in pass coverage. He can match up with Oklahoma Sooner running back Damian Williams in swing passes and in the short passing game, and that can allow Notre Dame secondary to play zone coverage. So that's the key. Can Notre Dame force Oklahoma to slowly working down the field? If they can, then they can get a pass rush on Oklahoma and can be in this ball game and pull off the upset. But the key question is, can they force that type of game from the Oklahoma Sooner offense? We'll have to see. Oklahoma and Bob Stoops. He has a very balanced offensive attack. They're 25th in the nation in passing, 34th in the nation in rushing. He's got two very good running backs behind quarterback Landry Jones. Damian Williams, he's rushing for 7.5 yards per carry, and Dominique Whaley, he's rushing for 6.3 yards per carry. So two very good running backs, and then his wideouts, Kenny Stills and Justin Brown, are two legitimate deep threats. They're averaging 44.7 points per game. That's 5th in the country. They're going to look to score first and jump on Notre Dame and force a high-tempo, up-tempo type of game and forcing Notre Dame to play catch-up. Can they do that type of game? We'll have to see. A key fact for Oklahoma coming into this game is turnover margin. They're +2 turnover margin on the year, but at home they're a -2. They've been very sloppy. In the K-State loss, they were very sloppy in the red zone. Quarterback Blake Bell, who's used in the Wildcat, fumbled inside the 20. That led to Kansas State points. Landry Jones was very sloppy with the football. Oklahoma did come off a bye week in that Kansas State game, but they are going to have to protect the football against a very opportunistic Notre Dame defense. Whether they can do that or not, we'll have to see. When you look at Oklahoma's wideouts, Stills and Brown, the yards per catch are a little low. They're only averaging 12.6 and 12.4 respectively. That's a little under what Oklahoma's wideouts usually get. So the teams have been able to force Landry Jones and that offense to slowly go down the field. So if Notre Dame can do that, they'll be in this ball game. So that's a keynote too. Can Stills and Brown get deep early in that bowl game and force an up type of tempo attack? We'll have to see. Defensively for Oklahoma, they're giving up 156 yards rushing per game, and the secondary, though, is very experienced. They have 2 seniors and 2 juniors. They're led by free safety Tony Jefferson. They're going to have to come up and run support. They're going to have to force the line of scrimmage, and they're going to have to tackle. They were able to do that in the first half against Kansas State, but as the game progressed, they got a little sloppy, and Colin Klein and Jonathan Hubert were able to run and break tackles against the Sooners secondary. They have to keep Notre Dame's backs in check. They're going to have to force Tommy Rees or Ever Golson to beat them with their arm. That's the key for Oklahoma. Bob Stoops and Mike Stoops have to implement the game plan where they shut down Notre Dame's rushing attack and force those quarterbacks to beat them with their arm and make them one-dimensional. Notre Dame has success when they run the football early and then they work off a play action. If they can force Notre Dame into becoming one-dimensional in terms of just dropping back and pass, Oklahoma will win this ball game. Whether they can do that or not is the key question. So that's the key factors for both sides of the ball. Stay with us. We'll have a prediction for this game Thursday morning up on our website and up on YouTube at goforthe2.com. College football is the best. We give it to you, and just stay with us all season long at goforthe2.com.